Hello, everyone. Right, so I hope all of you are doing fine. Yes, preparing for the results. You say, ma'am, we've already prepared for the exams now. What to prepare? ICI is already preparing the results for us also. Right, so I hope that you have been looking forward to looking into this series, just as you watch a particular series on Netflix, okay, what comes in the next season, an episode, or something like that. So, for a change, keeping Netflix and Amazon Prime aside, I think you are checking on the videos coming on our YouTube channel over here, wherein we started the discussion with CA Yatharth Baphna regarding, what are the options for a chartered accountant, post qualification, what all, yes, could be the avenues for a CA. And then we considered the first avenue over there to be that you could be going for a job. And then for the job, like, we've been crossing the milestones, looking, going forward in our journey, wherein we discussed that, okay, for a job, then how do I decide about, okay, which company, what profile, what is the growth trajectory and all, right? Then once we decide upon the companies, so now we need to apply to those companies. So in our previous video, we talked about, in detail regarding how we could prepare our CV. I hope that all of you have found that video to be beneficial and have used those tips in that particular video or the format which has been discussed in that a particular video regarding CV, and then you sent your CV through various sources, through some referral or through some HR or through email or LinkedIn and so to various organization. And then, yes, you've got, there is a mail which has come into your mailbox which says that you have been shortlisted and you have been called for an interview. And so in this particular video, we are going to be discussing the entire nitty-gritties of the process of what are the different types and rounds and what preparation is required for an interview. Yes, for different levels of the interview. So, whatever we discussed regarding CV and company, that was like, background work, wo to trailer tha type, now it's like the main show wherein we, it's like that was the off-site. Now, actually, we'll be coming on-site. On-site might be virtual also, but yeah, now coming on-site. So, Yatharth, all ready with your power-packed content today regarding interviews?
राइट इट्स लाइक फाउंडेशन आईपीसीसी आर्टिकलशिप हो गया अब फाइनल्स है
अब फाइनल्स
फाइनल्स हुआ भले ही सब हो गया फाइनल्स हुआ तो सीए बनोगे नहीं तो नहीं बनोगे irrespective I've done everything
Exactly. So now we have to like crack the interview. Like, those who are writing MBA, they have to crack the various entrance exams over here. Now we have already cracked our CA exams. So now we need to crack the interview. So, when we are talking about recording this particular video on interview, and so I still remember it so fresh in my mind, regarding I going through Deloitte for my interviews. Even at that time, so 2006, there was the, what do you say, the HR, and then the 2 rounds of technical interviews over there, and then after that the partner interview. So I can just, look back, at the time and see, okay, oh yes, it's a different experience, you are in a student mindset, and then all of a sudden you are exposed to a corporate form of organization. So there is a mindset change and a personality change and a confidence, which is required very much for any interviews to look forward. So slowly, let's start picking up one topic regarding interviews, regarding, we've received the mail, that's for sure. Now, how do we go about it further?
Sure. So once get a typical shortlisting mail, where they inform you that you have been shortlisted, it's a congratulations mail, congratulations, you have been shortlisted. And then they tell you about the different rounds of interviews. So there are different rounds of interviews for every other or for every organization. It depends on their culture and how they go about it. Typically or exhaustively, not exhaustively, but yeah, typically covering almost every stage. It would involve test. There would be probably a psychometric test or probably a technical test. One first would be a test. Second usually would be a group discussion.
Okay.
Third would be a HR round. Fourth would be a technical round. There could be 2 technical rounds in some organizations.
Yeah.
And fifth would be probably a partner round or a CEO round or a CXO round, जहाँ पे a very senior executive would be interviewing you, and that would be the round, the last round, and then probably you'll be offered a job.
Yeah.
This is
Five.
usually even the chronology of the series, like even the chronology in the series is almost similar in all the organizations. Probably based on different organizations, they could be some rounds could be not there. For example, there wouldn't be a test maybe. Nowadays organizations are not very keen on taking tests, and even if they take tests, so it's more of psychometric kind of test where
Yeah,
they
offbeat types.
judge. Right.
Hmm.
So, a typical, so first, getting on psycho. So this is for industries and organizations. Management consultancy interviews is altogether a different game.
Okay.
We'll come back to that like later. Probably we'll cover it in the end part. Now we can, talking about what a general interview process looks like. It starts with the test. Test A could be technical test where, there would be some mental ability questions, logical reasoning, all those questions that you had solved in your maths Olympiads back in your school.
Yeah, scholarships.
That could be a type of test, but usually nowadays,
Agree.
people are taking psychometric test, where, psychometric test typically again, has a lot of different formats, but typically what it would like to test would be, how you are as a person. Psychometric, as the name suggests, to, test your psychology
Yeah.
in terms of, there would be, questions, there would be a situation given, a real life work situation, and there will be four options. You have to either, select the option which you would be, the way you would be reacting to a particular given situation. Either you have to select that, or probably, there would be four options where you have to, arrange them in a sequence based on, what your preference would be, what your second preference would be, what your third preference would be. These are, two typical type of psychometric tests where you have to give answers, either selecting one or setting the sequence of the options given.
Yeah.
After you clear a test, if it's a psychometric test, usually people they don't filter out, at psychometric test level. But
It's
if
more
it's a
of a
technical test, then
formality
chances are
type, it's a procedural part of
correct.
it. And I think
Correct,
the
correct,
IQ is already checked by ICI, so the intelligence quotient is already checked by ICI, so they now want to check the
correct.
psychometric aspect of it that times.
Right.
Yeah.
But if it's a technical test, then probably they may filter you out. For example, Aditya Birla Group for FLP program, they take a technical test and they do filter out
Okay.
based on test.
Okay.
So that again depends on organization and type of test they are taking.
Mm-hmm.
Second would be usually it's a group discussion round. Group discussion round typically would nowadays they have different formats for GDs as well. Typically it is they give you a topic and you have to discuss. A, it is different from debating. It's group discussion. B, there would be topics. There could be different categories of topics. One could be usually current affairs. For example, maybe on Russia-Ukraine war, the global
Sri
impact of that war,
Sri
oil
Lanka.
industry, or cryptocurrency, blockchain, metaverse, all these current affairs. Probably, if uh, if your results are near budget or after budget, so probably discussions on budget, its impact,
Yeah.
and recent amendments if there's a big news or if there's a new law. So these would be the current topics, or there could be some unconventional topics, which we used to discuss back in a school. For example, is social media making us unsocial? All those type of topics. And third category, which has evolved during period of time, is where they give you cases. They'll give you cases and you have to discuss a case. The case typically could be, for example, would be maybe there's an XYZ organization which wants to bring in a new product in market, discuss upon the marketing strategy which would be relevant for that particular product. They'll in the case it would be a good 1-2 pager case.
Okay.
They'll give you all the details about the product, about the market position, about the existing product portfolio, all those
Okay.
about the costing, about the margins of competitors, how what competitors are doing. They'll tell you everything in a case
Case
study, and you
study
have to
format.
discuss and you have to come up with a strategy. So
Strategy.
that would be, again a kind of GD.
Yeah.
Now, based on GD, usually you have to, first you have to be active. You have to participate.
Participate.
If you don't, chances are there you can, get filtered out.
Filter.
It's difficult, so it again depends. For example, if a GD is between 8 to 10 people,
Hmm.
it's difficult to ask for a chance to speak up.
Yeah.
But if it's a 4-5 people, irrespective, you have to speak. You have to make an impression in front of the interview. They have to know that you were there, you were present
Your presence
in the
has to
GD.
get noted over there.
Correct. You
And
have
then
to
I
imbibe
think
your
if I talk about GD to some extent in the GMCS and all too, yes, we have some little bit of a first-hand experience of a GD. But apart from that, I think when I need to speak up in a group or I want to put my thought across for something, one, I need to have the content. Like, we know words like metaverse, or we know words like, cryptocurrency or Bitcoin or Ukraine, Russia or Sri Lanka, Sri Lankan economy. We know, but then are we in such a position that we can make two, three statements or deliberate upon something or give our views regarding the same? This is what we need to work upon. So when we are preparing, maybe we just pick up, like we know tomorrow we are going for a GD or something, or like few days in advance, we start preparing. Okay, we are going for a GD. So I think content, that is one thing which we should be having. And once we have the content, the other part could be the delivery, that without cutting the opposite person or without sounding too bossy or too authoritative over there, you're able to deliberate, you're able to discuss, put across your viewpoint on the other side. So I think you need to be comfortable doing
And
that
also,
for a
I
GD.
guess if it's very necessary for you to know about the topic on which the GD
Yeah,
is happening. For example, if you don't know about the topic, there are 99% chances that you will be out of the discussion.
yeah,
But again, there could be situations where you don't know about the topic which they have given you, but that doesn't mean you give up saying you don't know anything about it. There are multiple ways. A could be hearing what other people are saying, and
exactly. And
gathering,
then
making
connecting.
your view on that. Just don't give up. If
Don't
I
give up.
don't know about this topic, I can't do anything, and you give up. Don't do that. A. Second, if you don't know about the topic and you have prepared, but you still don't know about it, there are chances that the other people would also not know about it.
Correct.
And probably interviewer would have bought a topic. For example, maybe he brings it something randomly about, for example, something very particular to Bangladesh, which
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people don't know about the Bangladesh economy.
Correct.
Then probably the interviewer might be how you present yourself, or how you discuss when you don't know anything about it.
Yeah, even
You
that's
make something
interesting.
correct. That's again a skill. You
The
don't know
skill.
about it, but you still make sense about whatever you are speaking.
Hmm.
That could also be a possibility. So never give up. Try contributing. Anything is based on your experience, based on your knowledge, based on what you are hearing in that
Yeah.
in that discussion.
But see, it
So
won't
don't
be
give
that all of a sudden on the day of GD, you are able to deliberate or put across your views or something. I think it requires some preparation to be done at the back end that will put you in a better position.
It does.
Like,
It does.
you have
You
a
should prepare. But
discussion.
worst case scenario, if you don't know anything about it, don't give up.
Huh. So
You
you
have
could
to
be
prepare.
either
You should
standing
be
in
very
front
able to
of the
get.
mirror, or you could be having a discussion with your friends, or you could be having some forums wherein you discuss, you express your viewpoint or something, so that you feel in a position that you can express your views over there. Right. So once,
Also, on covering on how to prepare for stuff for tests. First going back on test. If it's a psychometric test, you don't need to prepare anything.
yeah,
Be honest. Be who you actually are.
yes,
No preparation is required. If it's a technical test, again, any level of preparation won't be sufficient for that technical test. So again, I think it's a call which you have to make. If you want, you can probably there are many websites which stimulate these similar types of tests based on organization. You can give those mock tests and stuff if you want to.
correct.
And even if you don't, probably your mental abilities, and you don't prepare for Olympiad, right? Once you
Hmm.
go for Olympiad, it's all your general knowledge and your mental ability, what you have retained till date in your life. Those things would help. So
Correct.
honestly speaking, it actually wouldn't require a lot of preparation. Second, going on group discussions, definitely, GDs don't require prep. It does requires preparation. It doesn't require. So you have to be first, you have to be well versed with the topics. You
Hmm.
have to be, you have to have a command on your language. Ultimately, language is something which will matter. The way you are articulating your thoughts, the vocabulary which you use, the way you speak, the like your words per second, all those things matter, all
Yeah.
those small things, and that doesn't come like a day before. If you start preparing a day before, that wouldn't come immediately.
Hmm.
So I think you have to continuously practice language. You have to have a command. You cannot, it is something which you cannot get in a day or two, if you
Hmm.
even if you prepare overnight.
Right.
So that you have to work on. Third, after you clear your GED, usually it's an HR round. It's a HR round where typically a member from HR team, which is human resource team, comes up and they take your test.
Correct.
General questions first, obviously would be tell us something about yourself. Second would be tell us something, maybe tell us something which is not in your CV. Tell us about your strengths. Tell us about your weaknesses. They tell us, for example, they might ask you for a situation where you show you have strong grounds on your ethics, and these types of generic questions which you
Hmm.
should prepare beforehand. Before stepping into the interview room, you should have these answers set with you.
Correct.
So that you can do. based on it. So it would be a generic question. It will be, testing you as a person, as your skills, how much well versed you are with your CV, in terms of your academic background and all those things.
Yeah.
That would be on the HR. Not much to, prepare other than, preparing answers on these typical questions. Then would be the technical round, which probably would be the decider for you.
Yeah,
If you
the
clear
main
technical round, then there are chances that you will, get the job
get
offer.
through.
So technical, because you have, just qualified as a CA, you have spent 3 years of your articleship. Technical round majorly would revolve around your articleship experience. You have to be very, very, very well versed about the clients you have worked in, the work experience which you have, written in your CV preparation. You have to be well versed about every goddamn word which you have, put in your CV. You have to be well versed about the industry of the industry to which the client pertains. You should have the industry knowledge. You should know about the business model, revenue model, all those things about the client. You should know about for example, if your client is a food chain player, if it's into like whatever industry your client is, you have to know about the recent market moves, the recent policies around that industry, and you should know about the industry, about the company, about the areas you have worked on. You have to know very well whatever you have worked, that will and even if, for example, at articleship level you don't get really to execute areas like sales and revenue, but you cannot simply say ki, like, at my articleship I haven't executed sales, so I don't know how the client makes money. You are supposed to get in details of everything. That shows your approach ki you get into details and you do more than what is asked from you.
Correct.
So that shows your attitude and towards work and stuff. That is very important. You have to prepare around articleship experience. Second would be on current affairs and amendments. Like recent Ind-AS amendments,
Caro
law amendments,
20,
and
like a,
GST amendments, their impact, the practical impact on businesses, which will again, come based on, if you know A, you have to know about the amendment, and B, probably on your experience during your articleship would help you. C could be nowadays, this has also, started evolving where, they put you in a difficult situation. For example, they'll put you in a difficult situation and they'll ask you how would you react. More of, a psychomat test type, where, for example, situations could be where, your senior is overswamping you with work, the deadlines are unreasonable, but you have to do it. How will you go about it? You'll ask your senior to, reduce your work, or you like ask for work, or you'll work overnight, or whatever your approach would be. Or probably, you're already overswamped your work, a junior comes up and asks for your help. How would you react? These type of questions they put you in. If you have a conflict with your manager, the manager is not agreeing to your views, how would you go about that situation? All these things to look how you work and if you are, a team player or not. That would be on technical side. If you clear the technical side, then probably for some organizations it could be a technical round two, or for some organizations it could be a final round, where if it's a firm, a part, it would be typically a partner round, or it could be a CEO CFO round, where very senior executive or CXO would take your interview. He knows you have went through the grind of all the different rounds of interviews. They have roasted you, they have grind you, they have done everything. So what is the logic of partner round? It's basically they see what your vision is. Are you a cultural fit? They are more concerned about your vision, about who you are as a person, about whether you'll be a cultural fit to the organization, and those sort of things. Because they know the technicalities have been tested. You have cleared CSO. You have that knowledge. You have done your articulation. All those things they do know that they all have. You have all these sets.
correct.
All these sets. So that would be on the partner round. So these are the basic rounds, right from HR, right from test to the partner round. Now some generic steps which would help you to in all the stages. A, as I said before, language. Language is required in every. You have to articulate whatever you want to convey ultimately. So language could be different ways to have a good hand, or have a command over language. One could be you can listen. You can listen to some podcasts. You can watch some English web series. English podcasts, web series is on maybe Spotify, YouTube, and those things. Second, or more effective way of improving your language would be speaking. Now, speaking could again, there would be two platforms. One could be some professional platforms like Toastmasters, or these clubs where you are asked to deliver. That could be one. Or second, or more helpful, I'll say, method could be where you pick a friend who is also probably on the same stage,
Correct.
preparing for interviews.
Yeah.
And you maybe, set up a common time where you, for example, I'll call my friend at every 9 p.m. I'll talk to him in English for an hour, and we'll, not talk about our lives, all those general things, but we'll talk about, for example, I'll ask him to read an article, and I'll also read an article on current affairs, and we'll discuss. I'll tell him about the article I read, and he'll tell me about the article which he read. So that will help you speak English. That would also increase your knowledge. So, एक तीर से दो निशाने types. So that will, serve dual purpose for you. It will help your language and your content. Both the things would help. That could be a method to improve your language. Then on language, after, working on language, another thing which would be helpful would be, okay, so nowadays interviews, are probably, so usually, you have to go to the company and you physically give interviews, but post COVID, virtual interviews are, prevalent, because of the ease it gives to the interviewer and the interview with both. So there are chances, now also, the interview process would be virtual. So first you have to, take care of the infrastructure required. For example, a laptop, a stable internet connection, because there are chances, the video gets interrupted or the audio is not clear, because both the sides the video would be streaming. So you require good net speed. Again, you need a laptop. Why? Because on mobile phone, the videos are not proper. It's usually the video is vertical and not horizontal. There are small problems which make an impression, and it will, break the if you don't have a stable connection, and if your video starts, you have to, restart your call, or, if all those sort of things happen, then it breaks the flow for you as well as for the interviewer. You start losing your confidence. You have to, ask your interviewer to repeat again and again whatever he's asking. So those things too, it's better to avoid these things. So infrastructure would you'll be requiring. Second would be on your dressing. Though probably even if it's a virtual interview, though you are giving it at the interview at your home, you have to be in formals, preferably a tie. Also a blazer would be appreciated. So you have to be in formal outfits. And for girls, again, ma'am would be at a better position to say, what all
Western
formal
formals or Indian wear
attires they can, get on. So that would be on the dressing side. Another important thing could be, before getting into an interview, read about the interviewer. Try. Usually nowadays, people get the interviewer's name well in advance. If not, ask your HR spoke, your connect point in the organization to tell who the interviewer would be.
Correct.
Go on LinkedIn, search about his profile, because after every round, it is, not a mandate, but it has become a mandate where, the interviewer asks if you have any questions for us, and don't leave that opportunity. Ask them a question, go through a LinkedIn profile, try to, make a personalized question based on their profile, their experience, and their background. Try to make an impact, and also, on technical rounds, looking for a person's profile would help you. For example, if a person is currently working in FP&A or treasury maybe, so there are chances the technical questions would also be based on what he's currently working on. If he's working in GST department, the interviewer, so there are chances they'll ask you GST questions, irrespective you're not applying for GST, but because you're a CA, you're supposed to know GST. So wherever you are working, for example, ma'am, if I ask you to test my knowledge, I have a qualified CA. So there are chances that you'll ask me questions out of audit. Because that is something which you know.
And generally the trend is whatever is the latest issue which that interviewer is facing at the client place, that they will test it on you. So that's a very common trend, actually.
Correct. Yeah. So that will, help you to maybe, guess or, guess what type of questions they'll be throwing on you.
Correct.
So that would be another thing. And again, also you should you should know about the company you are, giving interviews at. So probably you can, go on the company website and, check its background and stuff. You should know the CXOs of that company. Get to know about the mission and vision and, mission, vision and goals and all those things about the company. That would help you. And, if you try to, show that everything, your life purpose and the purpose of company is aligned. So probably, that will help you to create an impact, especially in HR rounds and
I think we've just lost the Yeah.
Am I?
Yeah, now you're audible. We just had lost you.
Another thing would be, while giving interviews, you will be, getting in touch with a lot of candidates who are, applying with you.
Yeah.
Make a network with all of them. Be in touch. Help them. they'll help you. It's a mixed game,
Give
right?
and take, yeah.
The more you will help, the more help you will get, right?
And
Correct.
it opens
And
you
again,
also
so
as
many.
an individual rather than being very competitive, being very timid, and that having that insecurity that doesn't work in today's time. So you have to be
Correct,
very
correct.
comfortable, not like, okay, oh, what if I tell, or what about which company they are joining, I'm going over here. Everybody knows everything. It's just a matter of
Correct.
whether you are acknowledging it or not. So that way.
Correct. And also
Yeah.
there's this comes up. For example, if I tell someone about opening, so the competition for myself will increase.
Increase.
So we don't tell and those things, but karma not only hits back, karma pays back.
Like, correct.
So the more you
True.
help, yeah, you help, Almighty will help you.
Yeah,
So it
sure.
goes on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Build your network, and obviously, network will help you grow like in future.
I think
Network is always,
network
as
is like the most important, the in thing or whatever you call it, the in or whatever, but it's the most essential requirement in all facets of life nowadays, to have a well-established network and to keep on building up on your network. So,
correct,
yeah.
correct. And also on another side, CTC usually, what we are actually
Mm-hmm.
working for, like jobs ultimately for money,
Yeah,
and that is, something that it is one of the most important factors in
true.
deciding everything. So CTCs nowadays, the companies tell you CTCs upfront even before the interview. With your job description, you also get the expected pay. So there is nowadays there's not a lot of scope for negotiation for freshers. I'm talking about the freshers.
Yes.
There's not a lot of scope of negotiation, and even if you want to negotiate, don't negotiate in the first round itself. Make an impact, and then probably if you want to, though it's advisable that you don't, but still if you want to, then wait for creating an impact and telling that you're worth negotiating.
Yeah.
That would be advisable.
And nowadays, I
Another thing,
think, yeah, even the campus placement of ICAI, the companies which are coming, like, big organizations like HUL and Airtel and Hero Motor, like you name the company and they are Bank of America, Kotak Mahindra, they're all there coming up at the campus placement. And I think on an average, the range, of the packages given are like around 9 to 10 lakh to 20, 21 lakh.
okay,
And it could be, on the higher side also, but that's the range.
okay.
So, money is never going to be a concern, it's just your skill set
And
which you now
also,
need to represent. Yeah.
right, and also I was going through the 56th brochure of the campus placement, which ICI
Mm-hmm.
has just, published on their
Okay.
website. So they have, come up with some new norms, which is, on the day premiere or the day one, which they say, only companies offering 20 lakhs would come on day one, 17 and a half lakhs. And, they have made, and the
Yeah.
minimum base pay is 9 lakhs
9
for,
lakhs. Yeah.
like,
Which
till
is
tier two cities. So again, it's very good money, and at the early stage of your career, probably you should not focus on money, you should focus on your learnings. Because
learnings,
that will
correct.
ultimately, help you grow, and money would be
Yeah.
only to, keep schools, it wouldn't really matter in long term.
Yeah.
Paisa. And another thing, do give interviews in all sort of companies and all sort of sectors, even if you're not interested, just for the sake of getting an experience
Experience,
of interview,
correct.
that will, somewhere or the other, it will help you, B, it will help you make a network. So
Network.
do give interviews everywhere possible.
True.
So again, as also these are all the generic rounds of interviews. For management consultancy, which is, companies like McKinsey, Bain, BCG, or Accenture,
Mm-hmm.
they have a altogether different process where, these type of rounds are not usually there. It starts from, they shortlist your CV, then they assign you a buddy. A buddy
Buddy.
would be typically an existing employee of the organization, for example,
Okay.
Bain and Company or BCG. Then
Mm-hmm.
you'll have to, so all these interviews are case-based interviews where you have to crack cases with them. They'll
Okay.
assign you a buddy for a month. You have to practice cases with them for a month,
Okay. This
and
is
then you have to
interesting.
give the interview. It
Okay.
is a typical process. It happens everywhere, at least for MBB.
Okay.
And you will, these firms will, give you materials of, various, they'll give you various resources and materials and books to, study and prepare for case interviews. They're typically they're, profitability cases, market entry cases, unconventional cases, and, these are the typical categories of cases which they usually ask. You can probably, go on YouTube, how, a case interview goes, and probably you can prepare on that. You won't have these HR rounds, technical rounds, and stuff. You will be having case interviews. And you will be having 3-4 rounds. Each round would be, taken from a manager, then a senior manager, then maybe an associate partner, and then a partner. Only the designation increases, but every case would be a case-based interview.
Okay.
So that would be, very different from other
Mm-hmm.
sort of organizations and companies. So
Okay.
yeah, that's
Mm.
about the interviews.
Interviews. Okay, great. So one thing which probably I could add in is generally in an interview they ask a question, which I've seen very common question is why should we hire you? So again, that could be one question which we could prepare for in advance, whenever we have to go for an interview. Another point which I would make is like, you have to be very careful regarding what you write in your CV. Very absolutely truthful regarding what you write, because based on that they are going to drill the questions, or grill or ask you the questions on what you've written, that you've handled a client, you've written in the CV, that I've handled an IPO. They'll ask you regarding some IPO matter over there. So better be careful while you put any point over there.
Be honest, like only
Be
just
honest.
just for the sake of making it fancy your CV.
Yeah.
Don't put in everything what your seniors have
Huh,
observed.
huh, huh.
And even if you do that, make sure that you know in and out of it.
Yeah.
A to Z, you should know about it. Else you'll
Mm-hmm.
get stuck.
Yeah, stuck. Otherwise, you'll get stuck. And then
Yeah.
again, what is, I think you should not be nervous, neither one should be overconfident. You should be just comfortable with yourself, your simplicity, the positivity in your personality, your willingness to learn. I think that is something which the interviewer would be very much getting, it would be a positive. A point in your selection for a job, I think. So rather than being, like, very nervous during it, or being like overconfident, yo generation type of, it won't work for an interview, because now it's the corporate world over there. So I think students might be thinking, oh, thought we are a chartered, we are CAs now, and now it's all, it's life is going to be it's so easily I will get a job now. But yeah, you will get it easily. But this is the process which one needs to go through. It's very interesting. It's very full practical, full based on learnings over there. So yeah,
And just like out of my personal experience, once you get your results, so okay, till the time you don't get your results, you are like कि एक बार CA बन गया, once I get my result, once I qualify as a CA,
yeah.
life is sorted. Now I don't need to do anything. But trust me, result situation, you know, you know what it is. But once qualify, the pressure of getting a job, relatives asking after every week, friends asking कि भाई job मिली नहीं मिली,
Hmm.
all those things, that create real pressure, and that is your real exam where you have to perform respective.
Yeah.
So yeah, after the day, feel ki shit, the actual exam is just like now started, and
Now
it
start.
would be very, I'll say, huh. So your actual celebration would be the day where you qualify and then you get a job offer.
Job
That would
offer.
be
That
actual day
will
of celebration where
complete.
you
Yeah.
will be actually relieved.
Hmm, hmm, hmm,
Correct,
hmm.
correct. So you'll feel a lot of pressure even after result.
Yes. So
That way.
Yatharth, next
So
time,
yeah,
what is
that's from my side.
planned for our discussion for the next video? So I think we
Correct.
are
So
done with
after
the
job,
uh,
probably the second option would be the
practice.
practice. So
Okay,
probably we can discuss around the pros and cons and parts of practice.
surely.
So yeah.
Right. So,
Recording stopped.
yeah, thank you so much.